Sales Guild, get out of your own head. Hey, we're not going to do all those weird intros that people always do. I'm here to help you learn and help you make as much money as possible and become an elite salesperson. Doesn't matter what industry you're in. So, hey, module 1, let's start writing things down. What's written is retained, right? The hidden psychological program that's running your sales call. I want you to write this down. So, Sales Guild, right? It's not emotion, it's prediction. Your brain is constantly trying to predict social outcomes. So every time you go to ask for money from the prospect, your brain's asking you one question. If I ask for commitment, will I lose this person's approval? Well, notice something. It isn't asking, hey, is this the right solution? It isn't asking, will this improve their life? It asks, will they still like me? That's because your brain evolved long before money existed. Your nervous system evolved inside tribes, guys. It's the same mammalian brain since the beginning of time. It hasn't changed. So, what I mean by that, being rejected by the tribe meant death. So your brain developed something called, and it's what psychologists call, not me, social threat detection. And I teach this, I talk about it often, and what that means is it interprets social rejection almost identically to physical danger. That's why your heart races, that's why your breathing changes, that's why your voice gets weaker, that's why you suddenly start discounting. Your nervous system isn't reacting to sales, it's reacting to perceived social exile. And elite salespeople don't eliminate this response, they learn to override it. And I'm going to teach you how to do that today. Let's drop down to Module 2. And I titled Module 2, Why Intelligent People Feel More Sales Guilt Than Average Salespeople. I found something fascinating, and it's the smarter someone is, the more perspective taking they usually engage in. And psychology calls this theory of mind. You're constantly simulating what another person might be thinking. So during your sales calls, right, you're not having one conversation. I know you guys have experienced this even when talking with people. Right? Because sales is just a conversation. It's been given labels and titles, and that freaks everyone out. But no, it's just a conversation. Even at the grocery store, you're doing this. But look, you're having 2 conversations, not one. So conversation 1, what question should I ask? Conversation 2 is, and this conversation's inside your head. The second conversation you're having is, hey, they probably think I'm pushy. They're probably annoyed. They probably hate salespeople. They probably think I'm after commission. Well, here's the problem. Your brain starts responding not to reality, but to simulations, and you begin selling against imaginary objections. You answer concerns they never even had. You discount before price resistance even exists, okay? You stop asking questions, all because your imagination became stronger than the actual conversation. Look, elite closers stay inside reality, not imagination. Let's drop down to Module 3. I titled Module 3, Your Brain Hates Causing Cognitive Dissonance. Okay, your brain hates causing cognitive dissonance. One of the strongest psychological forces on earth is cognitive dissonance. Say that word 100 times fast, right? People crave internal consistency. I know you do as well. Look, if you've always viewed yourself as nice, helpful, and not pushy, then asking someone for money creates conflict, those kinds of things. Your brain says good people don't pressure people. Now your identity and your behavior collide. Your nervous system immediately searches for escape. And that's why salespeople suddenly say things like, well, go ahead and think about it. No pressure. Just let me know whenever you're ready. And those aren't closing statements. Those are anxiety reduction statements. They're not designed to help the prospect. They're designed to make you feel more comfortable. Think about that. So the salesperson isn't solving the prospect's discomfort. They're regulating their own emotions. And that's a completely different objective. That's what you're doing on the calls. So when you hear me talk a lot about my videos, for example, hey, what you're doing right here is before you ever get onto the call, you're projecting so much through your internal thinking that you've developed in terms of, hey, people hate salespeople, this is negative, oh, that would sound pushy to me, I don't like that, I don't like how people do that. Look, you might have had one bad experience with a salesperson and a bunch of other people might have, but that's okay. There's crappy doctors too. There's crappy, police officers, nurses, lawyers, but there's also a ton better good ones, a lot more better people than there are bad ones. So I think you just have to think from that perspective. You don't need to be so much inside of your head, right? And that brings me to Module 4. They need to be liked is costing you, okay? The need to be liked is costing you. And what do I mean by that? I talk about this a lot with my sales team. I get on the calls with them and I'm listening to them talk. And I'm like, what are you doing right now? Right? You're trying to get your personality too much out there, and people just naturally gravitate towards you. And that's something you have to understand. Like, logically ask yourself, do people like you? Yeah. Okay? A lot of people like you. So you just need to realize that. You don't have to get them to like you. You just have to solve their problems, right? And I want to go a little bit deeper. So humans possess a fundamental psychological need called affiliation motivation. I want you to write that down. And we naturally seek acceptance. Some people have it stronger than the others. Sales exposes it immediately because every close is going to ask one question, and that's, will you choose me? Well, notice something. Your income becomes directly tied to hearing no. That's psychologically brutal, okay? Most people unconsciously begin optimizing not for truth, not for helping, not for solving. They optimize for avoiding rejection. The result, no follow-up, no difficult conversations, no accountability, no challenge, no urgency, just emotional self-protection. Well, what's the irony of that? The people who care most about being liked usually become the least trusted because they never tell prospects what they actually need to hear, okay? Let's drop down to Module 5. Empathy without authority is psychological weakness. Hey, everyone says have empathy. And I just want to say I definitely agree with that. But empathy alone destroys sales. Psychologists separate empathy into different forms. Okay, there's affective empathy, which means you feel what someone else feels. And then there's cognitive empathy, means you understand what someone feels. And elite salespeople primarily use cognitive empathy. Well, why would we want to do that? Because if you absorb everyone's emotions, their uncertainty becomes your uncertainty. Their hesitation becomes your hesitation. Their fear becomes your fear. Now, two scared people are trying to make one decision. Makes no sense to me. It's dumb. It's impossible. So instead, understand emotion. Don't inherit emotion. Look, doctors don't panic because patients panic. Pilots don't panic because passengers panic. Leaders regulate emotional states. They don't mirror emotional states. And you want to make a lot of money, you got to get good at that. Let's go to Module 6. Why closing feels wrong. Here's what your subconscious actually hears. Close them. Overcome objections. Get the sale. Well, every one of those phrases frame in sales as taking, okay? Your subconscious notices language. Language creates mental models. Now, change the language. Instead of I'm closing, tell yourself I'm helping them decide. Instead of I'm asking for money, I'm asking whether they want the future they just described. Instead of I'm convincing, I'm reducing uncertainty. Notice how the emotional experience changes. Well, it's the same behavior, but different psychological frame. Behavior follows perception, all right? Module 7, write it down. The ethical burden that nobody talks about, okay? Well, let's flip the psychology. I want you to imagine someone desperately needs what you sell. They told you. Their marriage is struggling because of money. Their business is failing. They're stressed. They're overwhelmed. You know your solution can help, but you don't ask for the business? Why? Because you're soft, man. Because you felt uncomfortable? Who did you actually protect? Yourself, not them, okay? Psychologists call this omission bias. People often feel less guilty for failing to act than taking action, even when an action causes more harm. Think about medicine, okay? A physician who withholds an effective treatment because the conversation feels awkward is not being kind. They're allowing harm to continue. And the same principle applies to ethical selling. Like, if your recommendation is genuinely in the customer's best interest, avoiding the conversation protects your comfort, not their future. So, like, why are you doing this? It doesn't make any sense. And you have to realize it from that perspective. So, for Module 8, and I'm always rolling fast. That's what winners do. Speed in business is everything. I also train like a lion, sell like a lamb. I just want to make that clear. So I'll always be rolling, might be going. But that's me. That's just how I am. Module 8, conviction changes your brain. Hey, confidence is overrated. Conviction is neurological. Write that down. So every experience updates your brain's internal prediction model. The more you witness your product genuinely improving lives, the stronger your belief comes. And the stronger your belief becomes, the less your brain predicts social danger. The less social danger it predicts, the calmer your nervous system becomes. And that's why elite closers often sound relaxed. They're not fearless. Their brains have accumulated enough evidence that offering the solution leads to positive outcomes more often than negative ones. Their prediction model changed, not their personality. So for Module 9, I talk about this a lot, the identity shift. And I want you to write that down, the identity shift. So identity is everything, okay? And the highest level of sales isn't learning better closes. It's definitely not learning better objections, NLP, persuasion. It's really simple. It's just changing one's identity. Now, that can be your identity, and it can be the prospect's identity. But mainly yours. I want you to stop seeing yourself as someone who asks for money, because someone responsible for helping people make high-quality decisions, okay? That identity changes everything. If I see myself as someone who is responsible for helping people make high-quality decisions, then my questions are going to become sharper. My confidence becomes calmer. My follow-up becomes more consistent. My authority becomes more natural, because you're no longer trying to get a yes, you're trying to help someone make the best possible decision with complete clarity. And that is what elite sales really is. So I'll leave you with one thing. The greatest salespeople that I've ever met don't feel guilty asking for the business. They would feel guilty not asking, right? If they truly believe they could improve someone's life, that's the distinction. So they're always going to go in for the kill if they can do it. Why wouldn't you, right? Why wouldn't you? And manipulation says, how do I get this person to buy? Professional selling asks, given everything I've learned, what decision genuinely serves this person's long-term interests? So when you operate from that question, the guilt fades, not because you become less ethical, because you become more aligned with your purpose. Your job is to not extract money, it's to reduce uncertainty, increase clarity, and help people make decisions they'll be grateful for years from now. So with that being said, there's so many things going on in this world. I just want to say, if you can stress controlling your thoughts and your perception on the act of selling, the identity of selling, and look at it more as a servant, and I'm serving someone and I have to ask these questions to serve them, and in some situations I have to challenge them, that way that I can truly help them. All those things matter. So make sure you like and subscribe. Check us out at Universal Accounting Center. Hey, check in the next video, baby.